Good evening, everyone. To be respectful of everyone's time, we'll get started. We still have some people coming in. I first of all wanted to thank you all for being here tonight and to welcome you. This is a first-time event for us, but I thought it would be a great way for our families to gain a better understanding of how you figure out what fit is best for you. There are a lot of choices out there, and it's sometimes confusing and difficult to sift through all of those choices and decide what makes sense based on your goals. So welcome. First of all, slide please. You have a clicker. I do? Do you mind changing it since I don't see the clicker? Before we get started tonight, I just wanted to announce 2 dates that we have coming up. On April 10th, we're hosting a career fair with colleges, businesses, military representatives, trade union representatives, service organizations, and this is during the school day, and this is an opportunity for your children to talk to whoever they need to talk to and want to talk to. Students find summer jobs at this event, students find career jobs at this event, students talk to colleges, talk to recruiters, whatever makes sense for them. And then on April 18th, we're hosting our second Career Exploration Day of the year. And this event is where your students have the opportunity to select a career field of interest and to meet with a professional that represents that career field. So they're selecting what interests them, and they're usually in a small group setting, hearing from a professional in that field. The last thing that I wanted to announce is Project Launch. This is something that we have been working on this year and will officially launch next year. Forest Lake High School, in cooperation with Lake Center for Youth and Families, received a grant from the Department of Labor back in January. And this grant is to help us get started with some programming and class opportunities for students to gain more career experiences. So there will be a series of 2 classes, one that will be Career Launch Explore, which gives students the opportunity to develop their professional skills, job shadow, talk to professionals, have some mentoring opportunities, and then Career Launch Experience, where students will have the opportunity to actually spend time in a position, learning skills, earning a wage, and earning high school credit. So we are focusing, our grant focused on manufacturing and agriculture to get started. That being said, as the program grows, we will certainly be adding in business and FACS and all of our CTE programs to that programming. So for agriculture and manufacturing, it's students interested in those fields as well as engineering fields because it ties right into manufacturing and agriculture. So with that being said, we're going to get started with our panel. Thank you, panel participants, for being here. If you wouldn't mind, we're just going to go down the line, and if you wouldn't mind saying your name, the school you're from, you can describe your type of school and some of your school logistics. That would be wonderful.
Great. Hi, my name is Will Erickson. I work at St. Olaf College. It's in Northfield, Minnesota. It's about an hour and 10 minutes from here. I just drove it, so I have a good idea. And we're a small liberal arts college in a rural community. We're about 3,000 students. We have students from all 50 states and over 100 different countries. And this is a place where about like 95% of our students live all 4 years on campus. So it does create a really different atmosphere. And partly why you're here tonight is to figure out fit, and I think we hit a niche for students. And this is a place where I think you're going to find a lot of opportunities, but they're all going to be very focused on our community and on our campus. Yeah, and sorry, I'm just reading, she had a list of like school logistics for us. I'm just covering a few of those, but typically students finish in 4 years. Our 4-year graduation rate is 89%, and our 6-year graduation rate is over 92%, and we're a place that's, I think, really focused on having a 4-year kind of education and then getting you out the door and getting you into the workforce. So, yeah.
I'm Emma Scott. I'm here representing Hamlin University. And similarly to St. Olaf, we are a private liberal arts school. but we are located in the heart of the Twin Cities. So our neighborhood is called the Hamlin Midway neighborhood because it's halfway between Minneapolis and St. Paul. So a big part of our students' experience is being in that metro environment, but also having kind of a similar tight-knit community right on campus. We have about 2,200 undergraduate students on campus, so pretty small. And then as far as students who live on campus, in our freshman year, probably between 85 and 95% of freshman students, it kind of fluctuates year to year, live on campus. As students move up the years, they tend to move off into the community, into the neighborhood, which we totally support them in that process. But a good number of first years do live on campus. We actually have a 4-year graduation guarantee that states if you don't graduate from Hamlin in 4 years, we will pay for that extra semester or summer class or year, whatever it takes to get you that degree. So we, again, really focus on getting those students done in 4 years and getting them on to that next step, whatever that is. Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle. Do I sound okay? This is kind of interesting. Anyways, and I work in the admissions office at Century College. We are located in White Bear Lake. So we are a 2-year community and technical college. And so we have programs that are designed for transfer as well as programs that can be completed in about 2 years or less, designed for employment or transfer pathways with those programs as well. So we are a member of the Minnesota State system. We used to be called MnSCU, Minnesota State Colleges and Universities, if you've heard that term before, but they recently shortened it to Minnesota State. And so within the system there are 30 2-year colleges like Century, Anoka Tech, and then 7 state universities, including Winona here. And so let's see, some other school logistics. We are one of the largest community and technical colleges in the state of Minnesota, so we have about 10,000 students. Although I do tell students, I don't feel like we are that big just because we have 2 campuses, and they are right across the street from each other. But we differentiate between the 2 campuses because of the focus. One of our campuses is where students are more taking their general education courses versus the other campuses where our career and technical programs are housed. So that's where the shops and the labs are located on our campus. And I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Hey everybody, my name is Lucas Erie. I work in admissions at Anoka Tech. And Anoka Tech is also part of the Min-State system. But we're a little different than Century and Winona that's here. We're a 2-year only technical college. So whereas Century and some other schools in the system might be community colleges and technical colleges, we just focus on the technical side of things. So students come to Anoka Tech with a clear focus in mind. You pick your major when you apply to school. You don't go to Anoka Tech to do your generals and transfer somewhere else. You go to get a technical education and then get a job. So we have certificate, diplomas, and degrees from 1 semester to 2 years, 2-year associate degrees, manufacturing, engineering, technology, and lots of healthcare programs. We're a small school. It's one big sprawling building, roughly 1,500 students. Minnesota State really keeps tuition costs down, so we're roughly $6,000 a year for tuition and books. You really can't beat that in the state. But we are a commuter school. We don't have dorms. Students commute. Took me about 40 minutes to get here today. So if students are interested in living near school, there are affordable apartments that some students do rent as well. Okay? Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Kelsey Ostoff. I am with the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I'm actually one of 2 regional admissions counselors. So UMD has 2 of us that live in the Twin Cities area, and we literally divide the metro in half. So I have the northern metro up to Forest Lake, and then I also have the St. Paul side of the metro. But we're the medium-sized campus of the University of Minnesota. So the University of Minnesota has 5 campuses. We are right in the middle with about 11,000 total students on our campus. I call ourselves the Goldilocks of the North. We're literally not too big and not too small. We are large enough where you get that large university experience being part of the University of Minnesota system, but we are very focused on research, internships, hands-on in the classroom. Your instructors are mentors to you. You're a name in the classroom. They want to get to know you. You're not a number. So that's something that our students really, really like about our campus. You're a mile and a half away from Lake Superior. Literally, that is your backyard. So that is something that really interests a lot of students and families about our campus. We are an outdoorsy city. Our campus reflects that. So if any of you are into the outdoors, camping, fishing, snowmobiling, skiing, we have so many outdoor classroom spaces as well. So definitely worth a visit if that interests you, but overall being that medium size I think is just a really cool dynamic to have on a campus. One other unique fact, especially with this winter, we are all connected by Skyway and Concourse system. You do not have to walk outside if you don't want to. So everything from the dorms to the gym, the library, your classrooms, the dining hall, health services is the only building that's not connected, which is kind of mean, but otherwise everything else is connected, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. Hey guys, my name's Kenzie Drexler. I'm with the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. So we are going to be the largest campus, large public four-year institution. We have roughly 30,000 undergraduate students, but at the U of M Twin Cities, we admit freshmen directly into our 7 freshmen admitting colleges, so College of Science and Engineering, College of Liberal Arts, things of that nature. So it makes it feel a lot smaller than that 30,000, and our freshman class usually looks a little bit under 6,000 students. We have a graduation rate, so for 4 years, we try to have graduate 65% of our students, and we actually have increased that in the last 5 years by 10 points. So we're always trying to get better and introduce new initiatives to improve our graduation rates and get our students their degrees. Yeah, 90% of our first-year students tend to live on campus, and then usually after that first year, they tend to move kind of right outside campus, Stadium Village, Dinkytown area, so that they're really close to campus still, but not living in the residence hall. So.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Hegel, and I'm a freshman admissions counselor at Winona State University. We're located in southeastern Minnesota, right on the Mississippi River, and it took me about 2.5 hours to get up here. Not too bad with a podcast. What I wanted to do, and I'd be happy and proud to share Winona State specific numbers with you guys if anybody would like afterwards or via email or anything. But as was kind of mentioned, Winona State's one of the 7 Minnesota State universities. Moorhead, Bemidji, St. Cloud, Southwest, Metro State, Mankato, and Winona State. So I did a little diving on some of the numbers. Cost of attendance, if you add in housing, which is optional at a lot of the institutions, which can vary depending on if you want suite style, if you want air conditioning and things like that. But just looking at cost of attendance for tuition and student fees, that averages about $8,400 across these 7 universities. Student body size, about 9,200 on average, but it does range from 5,500 all the way up to 15,500. So within the system, it's good to know you can tour around and kind of find your niche size-wise there. Percentage of students who live on campus, undergraduates, so not just freshman classes only, which tends to be pretty high for those that have residence halls. It's about 25% across all of these 7 universities. And average size of freshman classes I kind of took to mean as a first-year student in the classrooms you're going to be in taking those courses, how big can you expect that to be? The mode, or kind of the most common across the 7, was in the 20 to 29 range. But I would imagine that as a first-year student, it might be a little higher, somewhere in the mid-30s, probably 30 to 40 from what I looked up. Average time to complete a degree, certificate, diploma, so for a 4-year degree, probably something like 4.5 years. This can depend on what type of major you're after as well, but I think that sums that up pretty good. And then 6-year completion rate, earning that degree across the 7 institutions on average, averaging all the numbers out, that came to about 45%. And then as far as what schools are looking for in an applicant, that can vary a little bit too, but you're in most cases looking to submit a transcript, looking at ACT score or SAT along with a GPA or some college prep courses mixed in. So it's something you'd want to reach out to any of us admissions counselors for specific guidance on admissions processes, but that should give you a pretty good idea as far as representing the Minnesota State 4-year universities. Finally done.
Okay, what's up? I'm Nicole. I'm from the University of Wisconsin, River Falls. I'm also from Lino Lakes, Minnesota, so hi neighbors. Oh my gosh, hi. Wow, so good to see you all. Did I see you at Target? No? Okay, never mind. So UW River Falls, yeah, we're a 4-year public institute. We're a school of just about 6,000, so we are considered a medium-sized institute for the UW system. When we're looking at a student-to-teacher ratio, it's about 21 to 1, actually, so you're definitely going to get those small inclusive class sizes. I don't think I ever had a class over 19 on our campus, and the smallest class I had was a class of 6, and it was my debate class. So that was a lot of yelling, but it was totally worth it. Within that, the cost of attendance, we're looking at just about $15,000 for Minnesota residents. We do have reciprocity with the state of Minnesota, so you are guaranteed that in-state tuition rate, and textbooks are free. So that is a big old bonus being just right over the border. And then average freshman class size, about 1,200 or so. We did welcome these last 2 years, our biggest incoming freshman classes in the last 8 years, so we're real popular right now. Isn't that fun? Wow, wow. Hello? Is anybody in the room? That was funny. Just
I
kidding.
think you're hilarious.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Emma. And then, yeah. What do we usually look for in an applicant? We do a comprehensive review, so evaluating ACT, class rank, GPA, all those logistics, but we also really focus on who you are as a student, so taking into consideration the essay you're putting forward, letters of recommendation, all those aspects.
Well, thank you for all of that information. It's a great overview to start. For our next question, I imagine that many of you will have a similar answer, so if maybe a couple field the question, if anyone has anything unique to their school, please chime in. What common attributes do successful students possess at your school? Who would ever like to start?
I can start it. So at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, when we review applications, we do a holistic review. So some institutions, you might, if you have this GPA or this test score, this is automatic admission, something like that. We put eyes on every single application multiple times. And so when we're looking at that, we have primary review factors and secondary review factors. So those primary things that we're looking for are going to be academics, those core academic classes, making sure that you're having really strong grades in your science and your math classes. You know, we're looking at the rigor of the courses that you're taking. If your school offers AP, college and schools, PSEO classes, dual enrollment, we're checking to see, are you taking that? Are you utilizing those resources that you have available to you, and what grades are you earning in those? Those secondary factors that we're looking for are going to be things like, what are you doing outside the classroom? Are you volunteering? Are you working? Are you in sports, activities, extracurriculars? Those are going to be those secondary factors that we're looking for that we feel really rounds out a student.
I think to jump in there and look at it in a different way also, because that's very similar to our admission process, is that we're also looking for students who are really eager and really excited to be in our community. And again, I'm gonna talk about fit all night. Because I think it's incredibly important, because you might come to my campus, it's not mine, but the school I work at, and you may like it, you may love it, or you may not like it. You may be like, wow, there's a cornfield right over there. I don't want to do this. And that's totally okay. And that's, I think, one of the beauties of where you are. And finding a place where you're excited to be is going to make you incredibly successful on your college campus. And things we're looking for, like at St. Olaf, are students who want to be involved in our community, being involved in student government or music or sports, whatever it might be. And I think those kinds of attributes can really make you a successful kind of student on our campus.
I also think one of the things that any college student needs to tackle is time management, especially at a school like Hamlin and a lot of these other schools that do offer so many opportunities and so many academic paths and so many organizations that you can be involved in, and internships and research and all of this stuff that I think we're going to talk a lot about tonight. The ability to successfully manage your time will really help you. And so that's one of my biggest pieces of advice to any high schooler is learn your time management system, whatever that is, Google Calendar, Planner, whatever. Learn that now and get that really down now so that by the time you go to college and you want to do all these wonderful things, you have a system that just already works for you. So yeah, time management, helpful skill to learn.
I also want to add too, just taking advantage of services that are available to you. You're going to be transitioning from a great high school here to some new place, and it's going to take a little bit to find out what sorts of offices exist on campus to help you out. Right off the bat, just acknowledging that tutoring is a good thing and not something to lower your head about if you think you might want to go see a tutor. I haven't checked any numbers lately, but I've always heard on our campus that students that seek out tutoring services actually tend to have higher GPAs than those that don't. So, get involved, stay balanced and everything like that too, but know how to raise your hand and ask for help and ask where to be directed so that you can take advantages of these things that we like to brag about to help you be successful.
I'd say something along those lines where, no matter where you go to school, big school, small school, Anoka Tech being very small, you're going to recognize the staff. You're going to see them all the time, every day. People know me by name. I see them in the hallway every day. Find somebody that you feel comfortable talking to, so when you do need help, you know where to go. Whether it's questions about what classes you need, or if you need to withdraw from a class, or questions about financial aid, whatever it might be, just get comfortable with somebody so that you have a go-to person. Every school probably has a different advising system, and I think we're going to talk about that, but just don't be afraid to make that connection early on when you're starting out at school.
Thank you. So tonight we have hopefully a nice cross-section of types of schools represented: four-year public, state, University of Minnesota system, private schools, two-year schools, tech schools. So the next question, if you wouldn't mind answering kind of more generally from your type of school, what are the advantages and disadvantages of your type of school? Whoever'd like to start.
Okay, yeah, I'll start. We represent liberal arts colleges and small liberal arts colleges, and I might just explain what that means right now.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. So liberal arts education is focused on creating a curriculum in which students are going to take courses in a lot of different areas. So I was a religion and ancient studies major, but I took math and science courses. I took classes in the arts. I had we call them body movement courses, and I learned how to speed walk, which is a lot harder than you might think. But the cool thing here is that we really believe that you come out with a certain set of skills, no matter what your major is: being a good writer, being a good public speaker, being able to think critically, not only being able to see problems, but think about how to solve those problems. The way our president often talks about our educational system is we're not here necessarily to prepare you for the job you're going to get right out of college. Because if you think about 20, 30 years ago, who knew about Google optimization? And that there was a job out there where you go through and write blog posts to help a burger joint in your town get up to the top of the Google search. What we're trying to do is create students who are going to be flexible and be able to pivot and really take on new challenges and take on new professions as they come and go. And because we really don't know what in 20 years, what kind of different professions are going to be out there.
Yeah, I would think adding to that, the size of a small private liberal arts school also plays into that, and the access to resources that you have. So going to things like our Career Development Center and our tutoring services and our writing center, for our students, and I went to Hamlin, so I lived that experience, it's not something you have to actively search out. It is something you know about the minute you step on campus and that your faculty are looking out for you. So if they notice, hey, maybe you want to take this paper to the writing center, like they will suggest that to you and kind of build that community, help you build that for yourself. So I think that size plays in, especially to both of our campuses.
Now to talk about disadvantages, because we're both big proponents of small liberal arts colleges.
Yeah.
But to talk about some like disadvantages that our school offers, as I said, we have a niche that we're filling. And you might come to our campus and it might not be the right environment. And yes, we do have all these resources, and I think we have, a really great mission. But if you don't jive with the community, you don't jive with what's going on the campus, it's going to be really hard to do well in your classes, and it's really going to be hard for you to be successful. And so that's why we always encourage coming and doing a visit and seeing and I think you should visit all of our campuses that are here today. But some of the disadvantages is that we are smaller communities, and so you're dealing with a smaller population, a smaller group of students, so there just maybe isn't necessarily as many people around, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I have a little bit a different perspective, I guess, on that. 'Cause,
Sure.
I think maybe Northfield is a little bit different than
Well, that's true, yeah.
the Twin Cities. So our students are very integrated into the Twin Cities community. So our campus and our students' lives definitely extend beyond the borders of campus. I definitely think one of the disadvantages of Hamlin is if you're looking for a very strict faith-based education, which a lot of small private community or liberal arts colleges offer, that's not necessarily something you're going to find at Hamlin. We're technically a Methodist institution, but we take that affiliation pretty loosely, so no like faith classes that we ask our students to take. So if faith as a part of your education is very important to you, Hamlin might not be a good fit. Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, I was gonna say I'll go next in line. So some advantages, I know it was referenced, the cost, it's affordable option for students to start at a 2-year, great way to save money and then transfer on when you're ready, or pursue a program that doesn't require you to have a bachelor's degree and be looking for job opportunities after program completion. I think the convenience, students can go to school full-time, part-time. We offer classes throughout the day, so morning, afternoon, evening, online, partially online, meaning some of the classes on campus, some of the classes completed online. Students can start any semester, so fall, spring, or summer. We offer what we call fast-track classes, meaning instead of being 16 weeks long, they're about half the time. So some students really like that option, and some students know it might not be a great fit for their learning style, but just, again, the variety of courses that we offer, the connections that students can make on campus. You've heard lots about resources available, but not just the resources and support services, but I think the faculty too, because not only do they teach these courses so they really know the ins and outs of their program, but they've also worked in the field. So they're a really good resource, to get detailed information about a program or where have students found jobs, who's currently hiring, and connecting you to those resources. And I think too, they're keeping up with the trends in the industry so that they're making sure you are gaining the skills and knowledge that you need to be successful out in the field.
If you don't have anything to add, we can go on to the
Well,
E-system.
real quick, technical schools, you've got the pluses that you're coming in day one, taking classes in your major. It's really hands-on if you're a hands-on learner. So if you want to do welding, if you want to do nursing, if you want to do electronic engineering, you don't have to take generals for 2 years before you get to those classes. You dive straight into them. And then the goal is to start working in that field within, 1 semester to 2 years, depending on which program you're doing. So that's really the plus of a technical school, plus the price. You really can't beat it. One downside, we're a commuter school, so it's a little harder to get that sense of community on campus. So you just have to try a little harder to make those connections within your program. The cool thing is that they are really small. Your program is going to be like a family. You're going to know everybody in that program. You're going to know the teachers very well, but you need to be open to making those connections so that you feel at home on campus.
I didn't mention disadvantage, so we're also a commuter college, so that we don't have that on-campus housing, so definitely something to consider in your college search. So we might have students that live at home and commute to campus. They might rent near campus. They could be taking online classes, so could essentially be living anywhere in the world. But yes, that is something that I don't know that any of the two-year schools in the metro at least have on-campus housing, maybe some up north.
Yeah, Vermilion and Itasca.
Vermilion and Itasca, okay.
Yep. Yeah. For UMD, I don't know, I always talk about the size again. I'm gonna be a record here, but like literally I think an advantage for us is being that medium-sized campus, because if you're a student that knows you want to be super involved in college and you're super psyched to be at a university with a lot of options, UMD has that. But if you're like me, I'm a little more introverted, I kind of slowly, kind of got my way into getting involved, you have that option on our campus too. In a way that could be a disadvantage as well, because some of you might be thinking, I know I want a small school or I know I want a large school, so having that medium size, some students might feel they don't really know what to do when they're there, but honestly, that being a smaller campus in the classroom is super important, because our average classes are about 25 students. Your freshman year, you might have some larger classes, of course, 80 to 100 students maybe, but once you get into your main classes, you're gonna have very small class sizes, which is pretty cool. Another advantage, I think, is being a smaller university, and if any of you are interested in like sports or you're big sports fans, not to talk about hockey, but it's kind of cool being a Division I hockey program, championship hockey program. Our lacrosse team is actually ranked #1 in the nation right now too, as a club sport. I just read that today. So there's just a lot going on campus and in the Duluth community in general. A disadvantage, which again, I don't know, it could be an advantage and a disadvantage, I guess. Similar to the Twin Cities campus, we are divided into colleges on our campus too. So when you apply to UMD, you're also applying to a certain college, depending on what your major interest might be. So our College of Science and Engineering, our business school, liberal arts, that sort of thing. So if someone really wants engineering, for example, but maybe they can't get directly into the engineering school right away, what does that mean? That kind of creates maybe a difficult conversation, whether it's, with me talking to you about your options or maybe thinking about, what to do from there. But yeah, I guess that's kind of all I got.
I'm going to actually jump in really quickly there. It's important for your students to understand that in the U system, these colleges have different requirements and thresholds that they're looking at, and they're different levels of rigor. So if you have a student you are a student interested in engineering, that typically means that they are looking for a very high GPA and a high ACT score. And so it's just important to keep that in mind as you're planning your educational goals.
Yeah. So just kind of piggyback down the line. I would say the advantages and the disadvantages are it's really hard to say. It's really going to be student to student, because it's really hard to make just a pros and cons list, because that's so individualized to each student. So size and location is what I want to kind of touch on, and the size and location is going to be a pro or a con depending on who you are. So the fact that we are right between Minneapolis and St. Paul, that might not be what you're looking for. Not every student is the same, and kind of like Will said at the beginning, we want you to find the best fit for you, and not every school is going to be the best fit, and that's just fine. Everyone's path looks different. So if you like that, being right by the city, seeing those skylines, but also being far enough away and not between those skyscrapers, that's kind of what the landscape, the location looks like for the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Also, the size. It's easier to make a large university feel small than make a small one feel large if that's what you're looking for. You can kind of find those clubs or those student organizations that are smaller, that's just to, your career interests, your cultural interests, just your leisure interests, but it's hard to expand those as well. We are also a Division I institution when it comes to sports. So that's where that size comes in. If that's for you, great. If it's not, that's great as well. So we do have those, and students can attend our sporting events, all of them except men's hockey, men's basketball, and football are free to students. And our volleyball team is nationally ranked. So a lot of people like that, having that size, having that location, and being a part of those type of things. But so those are kind of the advantages and disadvantages kind of wrapped into one.
It's good to hear some of the messaging from across the panel about how it is an individual decision for each and every one of you. So wherever you're at on your journey and your search so far, kudos to you for coming out and just hearing some different perspectives tonight. You'll know a lot more when you step foot on campuses what your initial kind of gut reaction is. But advantages, disadvantages, when I think about all of these 7 universities again across the Minnesota state system, is that we pride ourselves on being a good value for students. So if you want a 4-year bachelor's degree, whether you know exactly what it is you want to do just yet or not, there's a lot of flexibility to change from major to major within a lot of our institutions at a reasonable cost. And then on top of that, I'm blown away by the types of research that students do at some of these mid-sized and even smaller state universities. So look into that, and I think you might be impressed too. But on the disadvantage side, do we have a small motor program or small automotive type program like a football recruit recently reached out to me to ask if we have? No, we don't. If you want to major in astronomy right out the gate, you got to be at, which I love, you got to be at a pretty large institution to find a 4-year bachelor's in astronomy right away. But then again, you can do a physics major, and talk to me later if you're into astronomy, so we can get you prepared to work with faculty on that. But yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. Those are my thoughts on advantage, disadvantage.
Wow, so to round that out, obviously going down the line, a lot of what we're saying is in a sense similar. It's looking about size, vibe, your aesthetic, the whole thing. So some of my favorite things and advantages about UW River Falls, and just something to point out in case anybody's looking at any other UW schools, is there's 14 UW public schools total in the state of Wisconsin. UW River Falls is lucky number 7 on that list. So we're the happiest medium you can get college size-wise. And within that, I kind of think, at least speaking to kind of with Minnesota and Duluth, for us, we're kind of the best of both worlds in the sense that we're sitting in the small, cute, cozy little town of River Falls, Wisconsin, but the big city's right in your backyard. So if you want to go down for concerts, athletic events, Mall of America, we do activities on our campus where we provide free busing, discounted tickets. So I feel those kind of benefits really help when you're looking at small and big, just because you can kind of get the best of both on our campus. The one disadvantage I would say, and just to let everybody know for the UW system, is there's a 2-year on-campus living requirement. That means freshman and sophomore year, you do need to live on campus. We did find here at UW River Falls that about 68% of our students wanted to live on campus for their entire academic career, so we do have upperclassmen suites, but just something for you to be aware of. A lot of students think, freshman year, instantly they're like, where am I going to live? Where's my apartment? And it's like, whoa, let's get you in the community a little bit. So just something for y'all to note that might be something you want to look at for Wisconsin.
And I'll just continue the conversation with you, Nicole, as far as, do you have any commuting students at River Falls? What percentage? What are the trade-offs of commuting?
Yeah, so just looking at our student population, it's about a 50-50 split from Minnesota and Wisconsin. And we do have quite a few commuters coming from the Twin Cities. So I believe it's if you're within 30 miles of campus, you are eligible to commute. The percentage of our students that are commuting, I believe, is under 10%. So we do have a lot of on-campus connections, but provide many opportunities for our commuting students to get to know one another. We have our week of welcome activities, so the first week before school happens, it's a big celebration for everyone to get to know each other. So that's a good area to meet up. But if you are looking to commute, Forest Lake, you're a little too far out, sorry. So you'll definitely be on campus. But yeah, there definitely is the option that's there. But again, a school our size, we do a pretty good job of keeping you connected. And with those small classes, you're really going to get to know each other and your professors too.
Thank you. You don't all need to answer this question, but if anybody else has anything to add about commuting versus not commuting, feel free to.
Yeah. I'll say specifically at Hamlin, we don't have any residency requirements or anything like that. We don't require our students to live on campus at any point. But I'm a huge advocate of living on campus no matter where you end up for a couple of years. And especially Hamlin, we pride ourselves on being a very diverse school. And so the best way to experience that is by living on campus. My own personal experience, I'm from like a tiny, tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. My roommate went to an art school downtown Minneapolis. Our neighbor was from Haiti, his roommate was from Arizona, and the RA right next door was from Mexico. And I would have never met any of those people had I not lived on campus. And so I think obviously the benefit is cost, right? You're going to save a lot of money by staying at home, but you're also, at Hamlin at least, you're going to miss some exposure to some of that really wonderful community that we have.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our next question, jumping ahead. You all have an array of activities and sports and clubs. Is there anything you'd like to share that is perhaps unique or just perspective on taking advantage of those opportunities in college in general?
We have a surfing club on our campus, which is really, it's seriously so cool to talk about. You can surf on Lake Superior, in case any of you didn't know that until now. So one of our instructors leads a group of students every year and surfs, which is cool. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's like super unique and super neat for Minnesota in general. But
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Rounds it out.
Who can beat surfing?
Yeah, nope, got me beat.
I was going to say,
Yeah, right? I was like, well, I can beat it,
Yeah.
but, right.
I don't know about beat, but would you expect there to be a happiness club that you could join?
Wow.
We
Yeah.
actually have that. So when I get a drink in the lobby outside of admissions at that drinking fountain there, sometimes there really is a Post-it note that says, "You're beautiful. You're going to do great on the exam," or sidewalk chalk and that kind of stuff. So that's one interesting one.
What about participation in general? Any advice?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you know, clubs are a great way to get involved, sports, club sports, intramurals, all that good stuff. But something I really appreciate about River Falls is it takes you and 3 other people and a faculty member to make a club. This year we had 16 new clubs on campus. There's a potluck club. There's a Zubas club with striped pants. I don't know. And the biggest club,
Coming back.
right, they're like in, I don't know. But the biggest club on campus is Muggles United, and they do have like a Quidditch team. They had a Yule Ball. So I mean, there's just cuteness all around where you can find your niche in those little areas and really make it your own, or create something too that others can join in on that maybe they didn't know they loved, or that you're just like so explosive about, like go for it. There's a lot of opportunity for connection.
I think a real benefit of joining clubs is that you get an opportunity to meet students from different classes. As far as I'm talking about like grades like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, because you're going to get an opportunity to meet people that you might not normally meet in your classes, because as a first-year student, you're mostly going to be in a classroom with other first-year students. And so there's this cool kind of, I don't want to say intergenerational, because we're all part of the same generation when you're in college, but you do get to meet people who are older, and it's a really cool way of, I think, developing mentors and developing relationships with people who have really great information.
I guess I have something to add too. Just that, you know, folks have mentioned like special interest, fun clubs, but too, there's academic clubs that, you know, can be associated with your major. So I always think too, that can be another great resume builder and connecting you to your field of study. And two, so I mean, of course we have students who come take classes and head home, and that's okay. But research does show the more involved you are outside the classroom, the more successful you are inside the classroom and creating that sense of communities. So there are, I think on all of our campuses, just so many ways to get involved. Whether you're a president of a club, a member of a club, if you come and go to these events as your schedule allows, it's kind of like you can make it what you want.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then our next question has to do with academic advising and academic support services. So tying in how you advise the undecided student, when you start advising, how students figure out the classes that they're going to take, do they get the classes that they want to take, all of those good things.
Yeah, so at St. Olaf, we actually wait until students get on campus before you register for courses, because we actually want you to sit down and have a chance to talk with your academic advisor. And you also kind of have this freedom, because we're a liberal arts institution. Only about 1/3 of your classes are in your major, and the other 2/3 are in electives and general education requirements. So for us, you don't have to declare a major till the end of your sophomore year. And so a lot of students come with like either lots of ideas or really are not sure what they want to do. And we work with faculty pretty closely on that. And then also our career and kind of vocational office, because sometimes it can be daunting to think about a major and then think about a career. And sometimes it's easier for a student to think about what kind of career they want and then track back and think about what major is going to help with that career or with that job that you're looking or interested in. But it's a lot of one-on-one conversations, and people have talked about this before. You need to find people on your campus to connect with who have knowledge. Faculty are a great resource. People, staff like ourselves are really great resources too. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, our advising kind of starts pretty similarly. Our students register on campus after they have had a meeting with a member of CASA. I just learned this today. It's the Center for Academic Success and Achievement, I think. So they kind of approach student success from a variety of different standpoints. And so only after you have met with them are you able to register for classes. And at Hamlin, your advisor right away is the professor of a class you're taking your first semester. So again, that resource built in of somebody who is reading your papers and seeing you in class 3 times a week and really getting to know you. And that person is your advisor until you choose your own. So again, really building that community really intentionally. And a really close advising program, whether you're undecided or you want to do pre-law or pre-med, you meet with our academic advising office to kind of plan a path for yourself.
Anyone can jump in.
So we have academic advising by pathways. So we've divided our programs by similar career paths, and students are assigned an advisor within their pathways. So those academic advisors are really the student's go-to person when it comes time to register. They help students create an academic plan if you're a planner and want to map out what you'll take semester by semester. There are transfer experts if there are plans to start at a 2-year and transfer on to a 4-year college or university, get a bachelor's degree. And then they send communications that might be of particular interest to students based on their pathway. And so really the first time in which a student is meeting their advisor is through our orientation process. And that's where we're going to acclimate you to the college, get you important information so you're not just coming on the first day and don't know what to do or where to go. Like setting up your student email, and again, these resources that are available to you on campus, and then also the registration piece, and that's where you'd meet with your academic advisor, and then you'll work with that person throughout your time at Century.
Similar to them is you'll meet your academic advisor during orientation. We do that the summer before you start your freshman year, and that academic advisor will work with you for all 4 years that you're at the university. And you don't have to be decided on a major. You don't declare your major until usually your sophomore or junior year. So even though you're being admitted into one of our 7 freshman admitting colleges, you don't have to have it all figured out. So sometimes I know students can get worried about that, but that advisor will work with you, and we have advising teams for each of those 7 colleges, so they know what majors are you're interested in and can kind of help with that pathway if there's something that maybe is in another college and you want to pick up a minor that's in another college, and really tailor your degree to whatever that career path looks like for you. Your academic advisor will be able to kind of help pave that path for you.
I wanted to add one more thing too. We've heard a lot of talk about advisors, but as far as the academic support services side of things, just know that as far as any student with a documented disability of any kind, whether it's a visible disability or one of the many, many invisible disabilities, if you have a diagnosis that impacts the learning process or a 504 plan or an IEP, those services don't end in high school. So one other part of your search process might be to even tour an office like that while you're visiting one of our institutions and ask about, you know, what it takes to sign up and receive an academic accommodation plan. Because if you're successful in high school or even prior to that with particular services, why would you want to start college and abandon some of those good habits and resources if they're still going to be applicable to you? So just be aware that that exists in college.
Thank you. We're going to move on to one of our next questions. For your institutions or your type of institution in general, what programs of study are you seeing that are on the rise, and which programs are in decline right now? And I assume this is being driven by the employment market, so maybe you could speak to that as well.
I'll start at Anoka Tech. You know, we're really looking at industry demands, so the programs we offer are constantly changing based on those demands. We have a very robust IT program, and we just recently made some changes. We realized that game programming, if you like video games, awesome. Are you gonna get a job in Minnesota? Probably not. Lots of those jobs are in Florida or California, so we decided to cut that program. It's a difficult decision, but we want our grads to get a job, right? So we focused on some different IT areas moving forward, but there's CNC machining is huge. That's a job field that's gonna grow 20% in the next 10 years. So lots of machining jobs in the North Metro area. Nursing, practical nursing, occupational therapy assistant, medical assistant, we constantly have a waiting list, and electricians constantly full as well. So those programs are really robust right now and growing.
For our campus, we've been noticing computer science to kind of go off of the, IT. It's probably one of our fastest growing majors on our campus. The last couple of years, it's been pretty close to full by the time the kind of like admission cycle has come through. At UMD, actually within the U of M system in general, we get updates quite a bit on new programs that have been added or programs that have been taken away. On our campus specifically at Duluth, we recently added a physics engineering major, actually. So that's our 6th engineering program within our engineering school. And then we also recently added cognitive science as well within our College of Liberal Arts. So
I think one of the places where a lot of schools have seen some decline is foreign language, which for me personally is a real disappointment. I think there are huge, huge benefits to taking a language in college or continuing a language that you have done in high school. So if that's something that you're at all thinking about, if your school offers it, whatever school you end up at, I know learning a language in high school is very different than learning a language in college. There are some really, really incredible benefits other than just speaking another language that come from actively learning a second or third language.
to piggyback off that, sign language, though, I've noticed
Yeah.
has gotten very popular. So speaking of ones that have kind of been on the rise, and even in high school, I see so many high schools around the area that have sign language, which is awesome, so.
Impromptu question. We often hear from parents wondering what are the language requirements, and I'll do little studies and it varies widely. Would you mind just really quickly sharing what your language preference and requirements might be, or none?
So our preference is 4, but the requirement is 0. Like, it's a whole scale of what students get in to St. Olaf and how much is a foreign language, but we prefer to see 4.
Ditto.
4 languages?
Or 4 years, sorry.
4 years of a
4 years
language.
of.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, no, all of our students are
Guessing it's not a
quadlingual.
requirement at Anoka.
Anoka Tech, no languages, but I was a Japanese major, if I can just personally, and I really recommend studying a foreign language, so.
Yeah, at UMD, we prefer to see 2 years of a single foreign language for a high school prep requirement for admissions. Once you're at UMD, though, we actually do not require a foreign language.
So we as well prefer 2 years of a single second language in high school. And then once you're at the U Twin Cities, our Bachelor's of Arts degree require that you do take a language for 2 years. But a Bachelor's of Science, it's optional.
Okay. I'll speak for Winona State specifically with this question, since that's what I know. We also ask for 2 years. We think there's value in at least 2 years of a foreign language in high school. But we recognize there are reasons why sometimes students don't. So even if you didn't have any, that would be all right as well. And we do not require one once you're on campus as a current student. Even though we believe in that as well, that's your right to take some other kind of course to meet that goal area.
We don't require one on either side. If you've got it, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. But if you don't, I'm also so proud of you. And when you're a student on campus, like, cool, do your thing, like, let's get into it. But if not, I'm still so proud of you. Yeah.
It's never going to change.
Either way, you get a gold star.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And then going back to programs, did anyone else have another program they wanted to share that was particularly on the rise or in decline?
Yeah, marketing communications for us is really like popping off. We actually had 4 students these past 2 years handpicked by the Minnesota Vikings for PR game day internships, so it's fine. That's a big one. Data science is huge, and then also with animal science and agriculture, those have really gone up. Animal science, we do have pre-vet, vet tech for both large animal and companion, but we do have partnerships in place with like the U of M, Madison, and I think like 4 or 5 other vet tech or veterinary schools in the U.S. So we got good stuff. Yeah.
We actually just added a new major within our College of Design. So it's our smallest college that we only have 7 majors in it. And the major that we added was product design. And so in product design, you get to use the right side and the left side of your brain. So you're doing like the engineering part of thing, but you're also being creative. So we had a student create this water bottle that monitors how much water you drink through an app, and it's actually being sold at Target right now. So I think this is the only product design program like this in the United States, and it's actually modeled after a school in Sweden. So it's kind of pretty cool. It was just a minor for a while, and there was so much demand for it that they actually created a program around it.
Thank you. Obviously, the goal with going to any college is to develop the skills and the skills necessary to eventually find a job. So that being said, it seems to be the case that developing skills outside of the classroom to help you find a job is also on the rise. Could you please speak to internship opportunities, research opportunities, any other experiential learning opportunities that are either new to your school or on the rise, or how they're being utilized?
River Falls, 68% of our students participate in undergraduate research, so that's a huge, huge percentage of our class. And most of them are looking at internships by the end of their sophomore year. that's also another really big networking opportunity or aspect. We do have our career services office that puts on our internship fair, mock interview day, etiquette dinner. That was fancy. I learned how to use spoons. So there's a lot of areas for you to kind of, again, get connected, but we do have quite a few offices on campus that provide that engagement as early as your freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah, I talked about being kind of blown away by the types of research that you can do at a four-year Minnesota State institution. The newest one that I learned of on Winona State's campus is we've got students doing brain cancer research looking at fruit flies because they have similar pathways to us, apparently, now that I know that. Hands-on cloning, MS research with a colony of zebrafish, gene expression research, or you could be out monitoring streams for pollution and setting up the tech to relay that back over a cell tower, just for a couple cool examples.
We are a Tier 1 research institution and Minnesota's land-grant institution, so it's like, what does that even mean? So that means that 90% of the research that's happening in our state is actually happening on the University of Minnesota Twin Cities campus, which is super cool. So if it's research is something that you're interested in, you're gonna have tons and tons of opportunities to do that at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And I know sometimes when we think of research, or I know at least when I think of research, I think of like beakers and white lab coats and like doing experiments, and I'm like, that's research. I'm not into that. But there's so many different ways in any major that you're interested in. For example, some of our students are, or one student in particular is looking at gender identities within the Hmong culture. So it's like, it can be social sciences, or if you want to be in a lab coat and doing beakers and experiments, the Honeycrisp apple was created at the U, seatbelts, stuff like that. There's cool things all over in all disciplines that are going on as far as research. Now, study abroad, internships, all of that stuff, jobs shadowing, networking, all of that's going to be on any of our campuses. I think the biggest thing for you guys to kind of take away is this experience is going to be what you make it. So if those are things that you're interested in, they're all going to be there for you. You just kind of have to go out. And, you know, we're not going to keep like, oh, you know, you should sign up for this internship, or you should do this. If you come to us, we have tons of opportunities to bring you to or get you involved in. But as long as you kind of have that initiative, you're going to have so many different things that speak to your interests and whatever that career path looks like.
Ditto to a lot of that, basically. No, it's another thing too, I mean, even just going up to like one of your faculty members and being like, hey, I'm super interested in doing research in this. And on our campus, our instructors are like, hey, cool, yeah, let's do it. And so, you know, even not being afraid to get out of your comfort zone and like, you know, talk to your instructors. Don't be afraid of them. Wherever you go to college, they are there to help you and they're there to mentor you. So please don't think that they're just these scary people that want you to fail and they, you know, don't want to, you know, get to know you. So definitely use them as resources as well. I might be able to speak for everyone too, where we have a lot of career and internship fairs actually on our campus, specifically within our Swenson College of Science and Engineering and our Leibovitz School of Business and Economics. A lot of alumni from UMD or from our campuses, you know, they're attending those career and internship, you know, fairs too. So it's kind of cool to, you know, get to know an alumni and kind of see like what did they do when they were, you know, at UMD to get to where they are now. So those are also opportunities to take part in and study abroad. I was going to mention that too. Wherever you go to college, please, please study abroad once in your life. It is an amazing experience. I guarantee you, you'll never have that opportunity again for as long and for how cheap it is. I did 2 short-term study abroad programs when I was in college, just 3-week programs. I wasn't really into like the full semester thing, but I got to go to 2 places I never thought I would go in my life. So Japan and South Africa, they weren't even in the forefront of my mind in high school, and I would love to go back to either of them. So please consider studying abroad if you haven't thought about that already when you go to college, wherever that might be. So.
Well, now we got to talk about Japan, but we'll do that after. No research opportunities at a technical college. So if you hate research, go to a tech school. You can do an internship, though. The majority of our students are doing internships, automotive, medical assistant. Different hospitals and clinics come to our school because our medical assistants are so sought after. They come to us to interview them, to do their clinicals, and then the majority of them will get hired on if they don't blow it when they're, on the job site. Medtronic takes on lots of our electronic engineering students. So I know I was talking to a student yesterday who has been interning there, and she got a job offer already. So lots of stuff like that going on at tech schools.
I think to hit on one thing, I think there's this misconception out there about liberal arts colleges and them being smaller institutions don't have as many opportunities for research, for internships. But at a place like St. Olaf, we don't actually have graduate students. All of our students are purely undergraduate. 92% of them do some kind of internship or research position by the time they graduate. We produce out of a class of 800 students, over 60 or 70 every year go to medical school. And our acceptance rate into medical school is 75% within the first 2 years of applying. And know that we have specific coaches for specific areas. And so you get a lot of hands-on kind of I don't want to say intrusive kind of advising when it comes to internships and research positions, but you get people who grab you and go like, okay, what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? And they really help formulate a kind of a blueprint for your 4 years at St. Olaf or at a liberal arts institution so that you're taking the best advantage of all the different opportunities that exist.
And I'll add at Hamlin, that hands-on learning is a requirement. So every single one of our students will complete an internship research, or we call it study away. And that is set as an expectation from day one. So yes, that kind of individual agency is really important, and you should have that for yourself. But also know at Hamlin there will be people saying like, hey, do this internship, or hey, do this research. And those things can go toe-to-toe with the Tier 1 research institutions. At Hamlin, we send the same amount of students to NCUR, which is a national conference on undergraduate research, as U of M. So again, finding that school that's right for you based on research and size and access and location, like all of these things play together to find one school.
Thank you. I want to be able to leave a few minutes for questions. So our last question, official question to the panel from me tonight is, what is one piece of advice that you would want to leave with students when they are considering what school is that fit for them? So if there's anything unique from what you've already shared and want to share it now, that would be great.
Yeah, so I have just this last thing I'll say, unless someone asks me a question. I'm from Montana, a small little town. And my options were fairly limited as far as like institutions near me to go to college. You guys are in this like incredibly fortunate area of the country where you have all these wonderful institutions, big and small, private and public. They all have a different feel. They all are in different places in the state. So take advantage of that. Go visit them. Because a lot of the time, you're not going to know what is the right fit until you're on their campus and you're really seeing what the community's like.
My other piece of advice is develop a relationship with your admission counselor, right? We're not just here to read your application, right? We are here to help you through scholarships and financial aid. And if you have questions about fit, or what kind of programs do you have, or what are the clubs like, or can I talk to a physics professor, right? We're here to be your advocate in this whole process. So, find out who that person is. At Forest Lake at Hamlin, it's me. And make an effort to get to know that person, because we can make hopefully a big difference in that process for you.
I just like to echo that quickly. I often meet with students who are very fearful of the idea of contacting the admissions representative. I'm always slightly confused by that, but I do not know the answer to all of their questions, and I'm like, well, let's give them a call. Really? Yes, they are there to help.
Well, as you're learning tonight, just that we're all different, but we also have similarities. So I guess my big message would be, don't be afraid to ask questions. College is confusing. That is what we are here for. My one other piece of advice, and I hope I'm not stealing from somebody else, I know it's comfortable to do, maybe go where a friend's going, but, you know, visit, see what's a good fit for you. I know for myself personally, you know, my group of friends from high school were going to this one school, and I made my decision later, but it was like I remembered that exact moment. I just, you know, didn't care what anyone else thought and just said, this is what's the best fit for me, this is where I'm going, and it ended up being the best decision for me, so.
Visit, we've got an open house on April 11th, 5 o'clock. I've got these to hand out. Visit, see what fits for you. But also tech school, you're picking a career, essentially, at least that you're gonna start out with. So you wanna do a lot of research into that career, talk to people your parents might know. If you wanna be a nurse, talk to nurses, electricians, see if Uncle Jimmy, who's an electrician, will talk to you about what he did. So just do your research, right?
Yeah, pretty much to echo again what everyone else has said, visit a large campus, a small campus, a private school, a public school, a 2-year school, a 4-year school. Like, just don't be afraid to visit as many campuses as you're able to, even out of state. You know, we have some great colleges with our neighbors in Wisconsin, North Dakota, Iowa, so just go visit wherever you kind of are thinking. And yeah, again, all of us don't bite, for real. You know, we're always open to talking with you. There's never a dumb question, so don't be like, Kelsey, this is a dumb question. No. That goes for parents too. Like, college is new, you know. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it can be very stressful for a lot of reasons. So please just never hesitate to reach out to us at all.
Yeah, definitely reach out. Like, we all did college. Like, we get it. We get it that there's all these questions that come up, so ask them, because we didn't have the answers at one point. I would say one of the biggest pieces of advice is know what you don't want, because a lot of times, as we've kind of been saying, like, oh, we have this, oh, us too, and down the line, but you want to know what those deal breakers are for you, because everything might look great, but if you are, you know, going to the school, but really there's that deal breaker, is that going to really make you want to stay there, be a part of that community, and, you know, see yourself there and earning a degree, or are you going to be miserable, right? We want you to make the most out of your college experience. So know those pros and all the great things, but also know those cons so that you can really weigh out and make that best decision for yourself.
I'm going to say ask questions again. That's what I was going to say if nobody else had mentioned it, and it just is worth repeating. But what I'll add to it is we've all got our own style of communication that we prefer too. So, you know, if for you it's a phone call, we're cool with that, right, guys?
Right.
A lot of schools have a social media presence of some sorts. You might be able to find your counselor's official account on there, or we may provide you with a text messaging number, or you might like email too. I know sometimes students don't like email, but we're available all those places. So if you're kind of shy about asking, just pick the one you're most comfortable with and reach out and just start the conversation.
But you should still check your email.
Yeah, you should definitely
Please.
check your email.
Check your email.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's
The
a professional
official
skill.
Yeah.
But we're also here for parents too.
Yeah.
I know I was talking to students too, but parents can ask questions. I talk to parents all the time.
And have fun. Don't forget about that. Like, this is going to be so amazing. You're going to have the time of your life. I'm so excited for all of you. We know that I'm, like, way too supportive. You're going to be amazing. But, like, don't forget, like, through the process, like, ooh, this was fun. I, like, giggled at that. She was nice. You know, like, don't forget to just, like, let yourself be free in those moments, too, and just really, yes, feel out the space, ask those questions, but this is going to be a big part of who you are, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, and just take that time to really work through it.
Thank you. One last thing I would share is I'm always telling students, even if you know you don't want to be in Minnesota or nearby, still visit all of these amazing institutions that we do have so close to us. It's a great way to help to sift through what gives you that good vibe, what is that good fit. It helps you realize what you want to ask at the next place when you do have a chance to go out east to visit a school or go to Illinois. So visit our schools here, even if you have no intent on attending them. So with that, does anybody have a question from the audience? Yes?
Raise your hand, I'll bring a mic around.
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
Wow.
Okay, I was wondering, from an admissions standpoint, Do you have a preference for the AP, the college and schools, or the PSEO? I'm not really super familiar with the differences of those, so I'm just wondering if one is preferred over the other.
No.
Yeah.
I think they're all going to earn you some type of college credit. You know, many of the colleges, I'm sure, have some information listed on their website. Like, we have all of our AP scores listed there that'll tell you exactly where those classes are going to transfer in. If you're doing college in the schools, you know, we're the #1 transferable institute in the state of Wisconsin, so we're going to accommodate everything and anything you're working on in Minnesota. And PSEO, I think, is going to be the same spiel. I don't think they have youth options, course options, ECCP in Minnesota, so don't worry about that.
And with that, institutions are different about their transfer policies. So the schools that you're looking at, the ones that you're interested in, that's why we're here, is to reach out to ask us what our policy is. And I'm happy to walk families kind of through that process.
Might be a good moment to plug transferology.com too. It's a really clean, easy to use site that you can use as a starting point. I wouldn't say it takes the place of reaching out to one of us to kind of double check, but you can see what your AP credit or PSEO credit might look like at different schools using that site. So,
Would you agree that it would be wise for students to hold on to their class syllabus?
Oh,
Yes,
And
please.
maybe potentially even some coursework if they're hoping to transfer that credit in?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's always the one piece. I work with transfer students, so students coming into like a second or third year at St. Olaf, and there's always the one student who's like, what do you mean I have to have all my syllabi from like these classes? It's like, yeah, we need that. And it's just, again, kind of depends on the school and what the requirements are, but keep all of that. Just tuck it into a folder, put it into the back room of your closet and forget about it. And then when you need it, you can just pull it out.
I mean, really the biggest difference too between like CIS, PSEO, and AP, you know, the AP classes, what credit you get depends on, you know, what the exam score is too at the end. You know, PSEO and CIS classes or college in the schools, you know, I mean, whatever grade that is, you know, if it's, for us anyway in the U of M system, you know, if it's a general education course, you know, like English or math, more than likely it will come in, no problem, so.
I think I saw a hand over here.
One last thing, we have PSEO at Anoka Tech, so you guys are pretty close. You could be taking classes if you're eligible. You can get information on our website.
So mine's not so much a question, but a comment. So I'm a parent. My daughter is graduating this year, and I have experienced a 2-year, a 4-year, and a private college, and they're all different, and they're all wonderful and beautiful. So my daughter, or I went to Inver Hills, got a 2-year degree, and I was just afraid to go to a 4-year degree like the U of M, because I thought it would be too big. And then I went there, and I go like, I could do this. And then I went to the U of M, and then I got an engineering degree. And then I went to Oxford, and I got a master's degree. So they're all wonderful. And the kids just have to figure out for themselves what's best for them, you know? And it's, you know, education is beautiful. That's just my premise, is that. So I told my daughter that. So we told her that, oh, and by the way, I should tell you, she's going to Century to get her generals out of the way. And then I really want her to go to St. Olaf. Because we go to a Vietnamese culture camp every year. She's part of that. And I teach at Hamlin University.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
Lots of
I'm
connections.
supportive of everything you do, and all your colleges are great. And you just have to find what's good for your kid. Right? You know, it just takes some time. It doesn't happen overnight. So.
Well, and I think that brings up something for parents. Don't fight your children on this process, right? Listen to them and help counsel them and help guide them. But don't put up a brick wall because they say they want to do X, Y, Z, or because they maybe don't want to get a 4-year degree and that's something that's really important to you, or maybe they want to go to a private school and that's something you've never experienced before. Get the resources that are out there, which can come from us, or Molly is a great resource too, but listen to your kids in this process. They are about to become independent adults, and giving them those skills now can really help them develop through college.
You guys are all great. I'm so thankful that you're here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
just quickly to add on, the best bit of advice, I should have said this earlier. I'm sorry, I have lots of things to say.
Quite okay.
And I don't want to take credit for this. There's someone else in my life who said this, but as you guys are going through this process with your students, set aside a time. Say that Sunday afternoon from 1 to 2, this is when I get to talk to my kid about college. Don't make it the car. Don't make it like random times, because the reality is that they're thinking about it, they're stressed about it, and of course you love them, they care about them, you want to know. So do yourself a favor and just set aside a time where you, as a family, you sit down and you can just be like, hey, this is when we're going to talk about how the college search and process is going for you, and then they know it's coming and they can kind of prep themselves for that conversation.
I like that. Other questions?
I just had a question, go back to the PSEO, especially for Century. Are there online courses you can take? And all of you, tell me about, do you have online options too as well at your schools?
We don't, no.
Very few. We're definitely a more traditional daytime on-campus school.
And yes, our PSEO program students can take online courses or these partially online. There's some Saturday availabilities, so as long as they qualify for the program, there are some courses that PSEO students can't take because they're for students in a particular program, or there's an additional fee or things like that, but our general education courses are very open for PSEO students, as well as some of our career and technical programs as well.
Same.
For like PSEO options, UMD doesn't have any really online courses, so a lot of our PSEO students would be local in Duluth in that case.
Yeah, most of our PSEO students are on campus, but PSEO classes can transfer in to the U, and when you're at the U, there are going to be online classes available for students to take as well.
Other questions?
You guys all mentioned that there's a decline in the foreign languages, which I'm kind of curious to hear. I guess I was a little bit surprised by that, actually. So I'm curious to hear what exactly is the decline as far as what you've seen in the jobs in the fields that are foreign language related.
Yeah.
Well, I think at Hamlin, we just see less students going into that, and maybe I overstepped in saying that it was a national trend, but at Hamlin and schools that I think I've interacted with, there seem to be less people interested in that, or the people who are interested in that are already doing it, and there's less people, I guess, new people coming in, if that makes sense, right? So they're not getting new people, but the people who are doing that have already set in that.
Yeah. And things kind of ebb and flow a little bit with foreign languages,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Russian. 20 years ago was like a really hot program to have
Yeah.
on your campus, and now like we still have it, but I don't really know who else does. And it's not like a super popular program at St. Olaf, but like we have it. And Chinese has grown exponentially in those last 20 years. And so, but I think if you kind of read nationally, when colleges are cutting programs because of funding, foreign languages tend to be some of the first things to go, which is unfortunate, because I think that's super important. But I think colleges, part of like what's going on in the national scene right now is that colleges have to make really tough decisions, and they're trying to balance budgets and keep their students, and they have to make decisions. And I would say I've seen that it's mostly been foreign language programs that have been cut.
To speak to something that might be a little more on the rise, we now have a minor in bicultural education to teach dual language in a single classroom, multi-subject. So there are some exciting things like that happening too. And yeah, it's probably just going to depend what it is you want to do and which schools you're looking at. So.
Another question? Can I just yell? Sure.
Yeah.
When would you suggest that we start visiting the colleges? I have a freshman right now. When would you suggest that we start doing that?
So in case you didn't hear it, she asked when the college visit process should begin with your students.
I mean, as soon as you feel comfortable, I think. A lot of schools have very kind of low pressure visit days. One of the examples that we participate in is Minnesota Private College Week. So all of the private colleges in the state have a week in June where we do info sessions morning and afternoon. And so it really is all about just kind of introductory as soon as you're ready. And those aren't going to be as intense. It's just kind of more laid back and seeing campus for the first time, kind of getting that initial nervous visit out of the way. And so I think other systems have similar weeks where they do similar programs, but those are great places to start, potentially even this summer.
I think too, there's a lot of ways to visit campus as well. So, open houses, information sessions, meeting individually with an admissions advisor, going on a tour. Our campus is open to the community, so as long as the building's open, if you just want to come and walk around on your own time, no one would stop and be like, hey, are you a student here? Anything like that. So I don't know if there's other ways.
I think the important thing, though, is maybe not to wait till your senior year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, senior year should be a time of refining your college choices and visits. And if you're getting, like, I just met with a student a couple weeks ago who hadn't applied yet, and our deadline was like 2 months ago. And that was kind of unfortunate because I think he just was like really focused on what was going on in his life and is now like, okay, now college. And he can still apply. We'll always take your application, but it gets harder if you get past the deadline. But I think junior year is kind of a good time to do it. And then if you do go during the summer, depending on what school you visit, the experience can be very different. We go from 3,000 students down to 250 over the summer. So all of a sudden, it's like it's very quiet, and there's like no one on campus. So it's a very different experience than being there as a student. And so I think at least starting your junior year is a good place to start.
I would definitely echo that. Junior year would be a good time. I also did bring some college planning timelines that kind of lay out like what should you be doing freshman year, sophomore year. So if anyone's interested in them and you want to stay till the end, I'll give you some of those. And it's just general, so.
Yeah, if you feel like you're gearing up for a pretty extensive search, then maybe getting one in at the end of your sophomore year just to get your feet wet and be like, all right, got the first one out of the way, might not be a bad idea. But junior year is great, and I'm a big proponent of going, if you can make it work, to go on a class day when class is in session, because then you're really getting the true vibe and feel of each of our campuses and seeing what it's like to walk down that sidewalk between classes and stuff.
Will, you mentioned application deadline. I didn't bring that up. Do you mind just, what are the merits to applying early? What does early action versus early decision mean?
Yeah. I'm going to put on a different hat right now. I'm part of the Minnesota Admission Practices Committee. It's this group called MNAC. It's a statewide organization. We have certain kind of like rules about deadlines around admission processes. These are all there to protect you. And so when you hear like a definition of like rolling admission, it means one thing and one thing only. That there's a date when the application, you can submit your application, and then they'll start admitting students throughout that whole process until they're filled, basically. Early decision is a binding agreement. We do early decision. There's only 3 schools in the state of Minnesota who do it. It's us, Carleton, and, do you guys have early decision? Oh.
I was like, excuse
4
me.
of us.
Hello. I'm right here.
There's 4 of us. It's not as popular. It's super popular on the coasts. But basically the idea is you've decided whatever school you're applying to is your number one choice, and you're excited to get in. You've done our financial aid tool, so you know what kind of financial aid to expect when you get admitted. And once you're admitted, you have time to review your financial aid package, but then you need to make your deposit. The moment you make your deposit, at that point, you have to cancel your application with every other school that you're applying. And it happens earlier. So for us, December 15th is when you would find out. So you apply November 15th, you find out December 15th. We need your admission deposit by January 10th. Normally, though, you have things like there's a term called early action. So you find out early, but it's not binding. And so you're excited, you want to find out, you want to get into it and know if you got into like you're probably still number one choice. And you can do that, but you can still wait till May 1st. And so all of these admission plans, except for early decision, rolling admission, early action, single notification, there's another one that I forget that no one ever uses. There's like a specific term for it, but basically schools are supposed to wait until May 1st as far as like the deposit deadline. Again, there's some exceptions to this. If schools have limited housing, they can ask for a housing deposit before May 1st, that sort of thing. But just know that typically you should have till May 1st to make your decision. But there are like very specific guidelines as far as what we can call our admission plans. And that's fairly new, that rule. And if you have questions about that, I'm always happy to talk about ethics and policies in higher education. So, yeah, does that helpful?
That does. Can you relate that to financial aid? Because we sometimes hear that those that apply early action have access to more money, and sometimes we hear that that's a myth.
Yeah, for us, that's not the case, and I don't want to speak for other institutions, but in general, we don't use early decision as a way to like get you to pay more money to go to St. Olaf. It's really there for students who are excited. So when we talk about merit scholarships, when we talk about financial aid packages, what we're offering students in early decision is the same as what we're offering in regular decision. Now, with that being said, if a school does rolling admission, just the fact of how it works, the sooner you apply, the less competitive the pool gets. And the longer you wait, it gets more and more competitive because they're forming their class and they're filling up their spots. And so if there's schools on your list that do rolling admission, like my advice for you, get that application in right away because it's only going to get more and more difficult to get in. But again, I don't necessarily think that if you do get in and it's later on in the year in rolling admission, doesn't mean that the financial aid you get or the scholarships you're being offered are necessarily going to be different. Yeah.
I would say maybe the one exception to that is a lot of schools, Hamlin included, have like a general secondary scholarship. So like our music scholarship and our art scholarship and our business scholarship, those things have very set deadlines. And so you need, if those are things that are interesting to you, you need to make sure that you have done the admission process to give yourself enough time to do those secondary scholarships, because often you need to be an admitted student to do those music and art and business scholarships. You don't need to have made a decision yet, but you need to be admitted into the school.
That is a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thanks. I just did like 10 hours of music auditions, so it's very top of mind.
And that's where you come and talk to us and you ask us early on in the process.
Another thing that could impact too, depending on the school you're talking to, is housing and how the housing process looks. Like at Winona State, the sooner you're admitted, the earlier you can do your housing application as long as it's after October 1st. So just using us as an example, we start to have a line that's forming throughout the year, and that's kind of the order you're going to get to pick your residence hall room in later. So each school might be different, but there might be some like rules about housing that could be impacted.
Yep.
With all of this being said, like when you start kind of looking at the colleges that you're thinking about, go old school, make like a spreadsheet.
Ooh,
I still handwrite everything because that's just kind of my jam when I have to keep track of stuff. Write down every single college you're thinking about. What is their priority deadline, or are they early decision? Do they have early action? Or, what date do they prefer the housing contract to be in? And that's where you can reach out to all of us individually, or reach out to the admissions counselor, at that college to get those dates and to get that information too, and just keep it logged somewhere so you don't miss a deadline, because a lot of priority deadlines relate to scholarships too. For us at UMD, if you apply by December 1st, according to your ACT or GPA, we will consider you for a merit-based scholarship. But you have to have your application for admission in by December 1. So all of us are going to be a little bit different in that way, as you can see by the conversation that we just had. So just definitely do your research, talk to us, and make sure you don't miss out on anything like that.
One last question?
So if we were wanting to schedule a visit, is there a bad time to do it, or do we let everybody make a phone call and whenever it works, or?
probably different for every school, so I would check their website, right? I mean,
Yeah.
MEA is a great time. I think for all of us, we probably have visit days over MEA, so that's a great time to come visit. Yeah, or an individual visit.
Yeah, and I think
Or
if you,
contact just the admissions office, is
Right.
that what you're answering?
yeah, they're gonna tell you if like, oh, we don't have students in session that day.
Right.
So they're like, we're very careful to make sure that if it's a day that people come and there's no students there, or it's like our spring break, we go, oh, that's our spring break, you can still come, but it's not gonna be a great time to come. Yeah.
I will say, as someone who scheduled visits for a couple years, if you want to do like the big, intense visit, you want to sit in on classes and meet with faculty and stay overnight and go to sports practice, if you want to do all of that stuff, please, please, please give us enough time to schedule that, like preferably 2 weeks in advance, if not longer.
A lot of colleges do have, like on their admissions website, you'll see like a visit link, and it'll take you to the calendar, all of the visit days, and you just sign up online too. So a lot of the time you don't even have to call to schedule something, which is nice.
Well, with that, thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. It's greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful evening. I'm sure if you have a last question, you could probably snag one of these nice people on their way out.
And this isn't me giving Molly lip service. You have a truly incredible resource here in Molly. We go into a lot of different schools and see a lot of different levels of support, but you've got one of the best. And so please, please, please.
It's very kind, Emma.
Like, this isn't me being nice to Molly because she sends a lot of students my way, but seriously. Yeah, she gave us a lot of chocolate today. But yeah, she does, not all schools do this kind of stuff or host 2 college fairs a year or like do all of the things that Molly does. So please utilize the resources that you have here.
Thank you. And I sat here for most of the night thinking, I don't think I properly introduced myself. So I am Molly Bonnet, the College and Career Coordinator here, if you don't know me. And I am happy to field any questions that you, student or parent have. So thank you for being here.